Yeah, that's right, guys. There is less than a week until the NFL draft, and today we're looking at defensive end Anthony Nelson. Nelson was one of 4 Hawkeyes to announce that he'd hang up the black and gold a little bit early to head to the NFL, but it was not an easy decision.
I mean, it means a lot to me. Coach Ferentz, Coach Morgan, Coach Bell, Coach Doyle, all those guys that have helped me. And I love this place. I love the fans. I love playing in Kinnick, but just for me, it was time. I didn't have any more academic goals, and for me to be the best football player I want to be and be as good as I want to be, this is the right decision for me.
And looking at how Nelson played this year, it was definitely the right decision. In his junior year, he was in the top 20 nationally in sacks. It was named the second team All-Big Ten team. It was constantly one of the most dominant players on the field. Because of this, his draft stock was high enough for Nelson to leave early, but he has no idea where he's going to end up.
I don't, it is a mystery, but I mean, that's not something I'm really worried about. It's something that'll happen, but wherever I go, I'm going to be grateful for the opportunity. And right now, like I said, I'm working to be a better football player. So when I, step on in their facility, I'm going to be ready to contribute.
Now, there's really no question as to if he gets drafted, but rather where and when. Nelson's length, explosiveness, off-the-line quickness is why he's projected that he'll hear his name called as early as the 3rd round to as late as the 5th. I'm sure the offensive players are pretty happy they aren't playing to face Nelson in spring ball anymore. And even though they aren't facing Nelson, there are 2 offensive players in particular that have been making some noise this spring season. DITV Sports Director Lucy Rodin has more from Kinnick Stadium on who you're going to want to look out for next season.
Yeah, that's right. Wide receivers coach Kelton Copeland said that there are 2 young guys who are just standing out so far during spring ball, and those are receivers Nico Reganey and Tyrone Tracy.
If I had to point out certain guys, I hesitate to do so, but, if I'm being honest, up to this point so far, I would say Nico Reganey and Tyrone Tracy have made the biggest strides and the biggest effect offensively and in our room. Those 2 guys have really done a great job of just taking the lead, on the field, taking the lead as far as meetings. And you don't really see that a lot from young guys. So when you got 2 guys, especially that young, doing that, it's impressive. It catches our eye.
I always talk about how he pretty much just got here and he's playing like F, X, Z, and even he could play a little running back too if he wanted. So it's just amazing to me.
Looking ahead to next season, Iowa is really going to need strong years from both of those guys, especially considering that the Hawks lost 3 of their most productive players on offense with the graduation of Nick Easley and TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant leaving early from the draft. Reporting from outside of Kinnick Stadium, Lucy Rodin, DITV Sports.
Last season, both Reganey and Tracy took advantage of the 4-game redshirt rule, where they were able to play the last season for 4 games and maintain their redshirt status. So we've already gotten a brief look at them. Without the spring game this year, it'll be tougher to get to see these guys before the season starts. But the Iowa Athletics Department is making up for it. This Saturday will be Hawkeye Football Day at Dwayne Banks Field for Iowa's baseball game against Nebraska, where football players will be signing autographs and meeting fans. And fans will also get the opportunity to see Iowa face off against the top team in the Big Ten this weekend when they host the Cornhuskers. We have DITV Sports reporter John Rawson standing by in the newsroom with more on the matchup. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Zach.
What can fans expect from Iowa in this series?
Well, Iowa has a tough draw. You mentioned it. Nebraska is the Big Ten's best. 10-2. They lost a pair of games to Minnesota, and one of those in a doubleheader, and then bounced back and swept both Purdue and Penn State. Now, those teams are near the bottom of the conference, so it doesn't look that great, but still winning 6 games in the Big Ten Conference in a row is pretty impressive. They're 21-11 overall, but more importantly, they're 12-4 on the road with a sub-4 ERA. They walk into hostile territory and they pull out wins. Now, Iowa, on the other hand, wins at home. They cannot be stopped. They just beat Northern Illinois in a gritty win where they had to go and win it in the bottom half of the 8th inning, and that was a win that they shouldn't have probably gotten, but their pitching staff came on late, and it was good for them. I do think Nebraska wins this series 2-1, though.
I couldn't agree with you more there. Are there any other injury updates for the Hawkeyes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Lorenzo Elon, he pulled a hamstring running to first base. Head coach Rick Heller said he's probably about 90%. He was actually taking batting practice against Northern Illinois, and so is Tanner Padgett. He's been out for a long time. They do think he has a chance to play this weekend against Nebraska. Also, Mitch Bowe had a wrist injury sliding into second base. They do think he should play this entire weekend. They sat him out against Northern Illinois just as a precaution. But finally, this is the big news. Jack Dreyer is out for the season. Head coach Rick Keller confirmed on Tuesday, and a press release was just made yesterday. He's done for the year. Shoulder surgery is possible. They'll meet with the staff, and they'll figure it out from there.
That was John Rossum live in the newsroom. Thank you. First pitch of the weekend series is set for 6:05 at Dwayne Banks Field. Now come on back tomorrow to DITV Sports on Monday for results for Iowa series against Nebraska. Jacob and Abby, back to you guys at the desk.